The choreography of corruption, Bibi bribes, and the empire of delusion. The trial of the century, but make it national policy. A dramatic operetta in 4 acts starring champagne, collapse, and the man who would be king.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
An exhaustive and exhausting breakdown of the Bibi Files 2024. He didn't just take the country hostage, he put it on trial. Hello, my darlings. I'm Meeks. Cue the strings, cue the sirens, cue the archival footage of a democracy slowly being gutted and repurposed into one man's personal get-out-of-jail-free card. This isn't just a documentary. It's a political autopsy conducted while the body's still warm, using never-before-seen interrogation footage of Netanyahu, his family, his closest associates, and benefactors. Director Alexis Bloom and Oscar-winning producer Alex Gibney uncover high-level familial corruption and the disastrous lengths a political leader will go to escape accountability. The Bibi Files is a film about a man singularly focused on his own political survival in a region beset by war. It's a crime opera with 3 finales, a Freudian family drama strapped into a missile launcher, and a national identity crisis dressed like a binge-worthy Netflix thriller. The Bibi Files doesn't gently wonder what happened to Israel. It demands how far can you bend a state before it snaps, and how many people have to die before you let go. Spoiler, if your name is Benjamin Netanyahu, the answer is farther than you think and as many as it takes.
The tea is exceptionally good today. Who made this? Very delicious. Hold on.
The democracy isn't limping, it's on life support. And Netanyahu, he's not governing anymore. He's staging the world's most expensive, most lethal plea deal. As former peace negotiator Nimrod Novik warns us, delivering the line like a death sentence wrapped in velvet, nothing concentrates the mind like the prospect of being hanged. For Netanyahu, it's not just his mind that concentrates. It's the entire machinery of the state. The media spins itself into obedience. Courts are being cloned in his image. The Knesset is less a parliament than a 24-hour panic PR room. And through it all, Bibi keeps casting himself as both the savior and the victim, the hero and the hostage.
If you are watching this, I wish nothing but the worst, most horrible, fucked up things to happen to you for the rest of your life. I hope you stub your toe on every fucking couch. I hope everywhere you go, every time you go to the DMV, there's a long-ass line. I hope every single one of your favorite shirts you spill coffee on. I hope every single person you ever date for the rest of your life cheats on you. I hope you get early erectile dysfunction. I hate you. And if you are watching this, I just want you to know, from the bottom of my toes to the top of my fucking scalp, fuck you.
This is not left versus right. This is not a debate about borders or theology. This is a story of what happens when the head of state becomes the case file, and the case file becomes the Constitution. Netanyahu hasn't just evaded accountability. He's redesigned the system to make accountability impossible. So buckle up, darlings. This isn't the West Wing. This is Succession if Logan Roy had nukes and a bunker. Part 1. The Indicted Autocrat. We open the Bibi Files not with policy, not with ideology, but with fear. Not the fear of rockets or riots or regional collapse, but the quiet clawing dread of one man possibly going to jail. That man, of course, is Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's longest-serving prime minister and its most tenacious defendant. The documentary wastes no time laying out the thesis. Every decision Netanyahu has made over the past 5 years orbits one dark star: his legal exposure.
Benjamin Netanyahu! מה הוא החזון שלך? מה החזון שלך תגיד לי? מזה 30 שנה אתה רוצח סדרתי של השלום.
לא, עצור. רד מהדוכן מיד. רד מהדוכן מיד. להוריד אותו עכשיו.
מה החזון שלך?
רוצח סדרתי בקפלן, לא פה.
רוצח סדרתי של השלום זה אתה.
רד מהדוכן. רוצח סדרתי, רד.
The war, the judicial reform, the cultural polarization, they're not just incidental, they're instrumental. And in this operatic saga of political survival, the state is not just the stage, it's the alibi. The central thesis lands like a gavel in the first 5 minutes. Nothing concentrates the mind like the prospect of being hanged. Translation: this is not a documentary about governance. It's about self-preservation masquerading as leadership. Netanyahu is not steering the ship of the state. He's bailing water from a sinking yacht while lighting fireworks on the deck to distract the passengers. This isn't corruption in the petty provincial sense. It's systemic, existential, kleptocracy as performance art. Netanyahu faces multiple indictments. Case 1000, involving gifts from billionaires, think cigars, champagne, jewelry. Case 2000, over alleged collusion with media executives for favorable coverage. And Case 4000, the bombshell, accusing him of granting regulatory favors to a telecom company in exchange for press manipulation. In a functioning democracy, these would be career-ending scandals. In Netanyahu's Israel, they become the launchpad for his most aggressive political phase.
You got one problem though, Jake. You got no witnesses. Who your fucking witnesses, huh? Roger? Smiley? You think my troops are gonna help you? It's not what you know. It's what you can prove. Yeah.
Because if the law is coming for you, obviously your only choice is to say fuck it and change the law. Enter the judicial reforms. The Bibi Files paints these not as ideological proposals, but as a legislative smoke bomb, designed to gut the Supreme Court's authority, politicize judicial appointments, and remove checks on executive power. They amount to a bureaucratic battering ram aimed directly at Netanyahu's prosecutors. One analyst puts it succinctly, he doesn't need to win the trial, he just needs to never reach the verdict. It's not about proving innocence. It's about dragging out the clock until the whistleblower gets tired, the public gets numb, or the judiciary gets dismantled. Then comes October 7th, the Hamas attacks, a brutal escalation, a nation in grief, and Netanyahu, he seizes the moment like a seasoned crisis actor. Suddenly, he's a wartime prime minister again. The protests vanish, the trial delays, the public discourse shifts from indictment to invasion. The Bibi Files implies this pivot wasn't just opportunistic, it was premeditated. A doctrine of permanent emergency in which every fire becomes a firewall against accountability.
God, I'm going to enjoy this so much. First, you try to cancel me, victimize an innocent man, because I guess that's just cool to do to white guys nowadays. But joke's on you. Me Too's over, sweetheart. It didn't work. Wah, wah, wah.
One analyst compares it to a hostage situation. He took all of us hostage. And when a nation's trauma becomes one man's legal shield, what you're watching isn't politics, it's extortion. Here, political theory sharpens the blade. Carl Schmitt, Hitler's favorite legal scholar and democracy's most cynical autopsy technician, wrote, "Sovereign is he who decides the exception." In Netanyahu, we see that maxim brought to life. He doesn't just invoke the state of exception, he manufactures it. He doesn't just bend the system to his needs. He floods it with chaos until the law becomes discretionary. Emergency isn't a bug in the code, it's the source code. And that brings us to one of the documentary's most devastating insights. Netanyahu hasn't staged a coup in the classic sense. No tanks, no generals, no burning of the Constitution. This is a self-coup by inertia, an institutional slow bleed. Each crisis is a delay, each delay a shield, each shield another day he doesn't sit in a courtroom. The law isn't broken, it's being pickpocketed, rewritten, and resold as national security. The Bibi Files doesn't scream this. It doesn't need to. It simply shows us the receipts chronologically, devastatingly, and with forensic clarity. Netanyahu's legal strategy isn't a subplot. It is the plot. And one thing becomes clear. The Prime Minister of Israel is not just governing a state. He's squatting inside its institutions, hollowing them out one emergency at a time. Part 2. The Real Housewives of Jerusalem. Sara Netanyahu, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Luxury Bribe. If the documentary has thus framed Bibi as the indicted autocrat, we are then launched straight into the Swarovski-lit war room of Israeli politics' most polarizing plus one, Sara Netanyahu. And let's be clear, she's not a ceremonial first lady cutting ribbons at a school opening. Sara is the HR department stylist, unofficial chief of staff, emotional gatekeeper, and allegedly the co-architect of a shadow monarchy disguised as a parliamentary democracy. From the second the Bibi Files trains its lens on her, the tone shifts. From political thriller to prestige soap. She's not a cameo. She's the showrunner. Former aides and staffers describe a household where nothing moves without her approval. She reportedly handpicks staff, controls her husband's schedule down to the minute, and dictates which ministers get FaceTime. One ex-employee told police that if you didn't compliment her in exactly the right tone, you were gone. And then, oh, the gifts. Court testimony and police investigations alleged that billionaire Hollywood producer Arnal Milchan funneled over $250,000 worth of cigars, pink champagne, designer jewelry, and other luxuries to the Netanyahu Netanyahu household over a decade. Israeli law prohibits public officials from accepting gifts, but this wasn't passive acceptance. Witnesses say Sara requested them systematically. One insider put it bluntly, it's not volunteer, it's demanded. She didn't just turn a blind eye to the bribes. She allegedly manipulated the supply chain. But her role stretches far beyond material indulgence. During the 2023 hostage crisis, families of hostages were summoned to meetings with Sara herself. No intel, no negotiating power, just the unspoken rule, he's her if you want access to the prime minister. In other words, policy via pillow talk, statecraft by ego massage. That's not democracy. That's dynastic gatekeeping. The scandals aren't just political, they're personal. Sara has been found liable in Israeli labor court for abusing her household staff, including a conviction for misusing public funds to order private catering, luxury takeout billed to taxpayers despite having a full-time chef in her official residence. She's been accused of screaming tirades that leave staff in tears, allegedly throwing shoes at aides, and once, according to court documents, firing an employee for buying milk in the bag instead of a carton.
Fuck you, Jill. You're a horrible fucking woman. This is why everybody hates you, Jill.
According to testimony, Sara allegedly pressured Bibi to secure a long-term U.S. visa for Milchan, their luxury benefactor, so he could keep up his high-end gifting without the inconvenience of border control. That's not just bad optics. It's potential cross-border corruption with the side of diplomatic nepotism. Bibi, meanwhile, plays the role of embattled statesman, swearing he knew nothing, pleading plausible deniability.
Of all of the things in the world that have never happened, that has never happened the most. That is the most didn't happen shit of all time.
For the hundreds of bottles of champagne and boxes of cigars delivered to his home. But the documentary and years of press coverage suggest otherwise. Analysts then argue that Sara isn't just in the room, she is the room. She's not just whispering from the shadows. She's Miranda Priestley with a publicist, a legal team, and a standing table at the most expensive restaurant in Tel Aviv. To call her controversial is like calling a tsunami moist. Sara Netanyahu is the 21st century co-sovereign spouse, ruling without a title, enforcing loyalty through fear, and allegedly bending state resources to suit her own appetite.
What's wrong with you guys? My diamond earring came off in the ocean and it's gone. Kim, there's people that are dying.
Her legacy, a cautionary tale wrapped in Prada, filed under public expense and perfumed with Chanel No. 5. If Bibi is the public face of Israel's democratic decay, Sara is the private accelerant, one $800 bottle of rosé at a time. Part 3. Don't cry for me, Arnon Milchan. Enter Arnon Milchan, Oscar-nominated producer by day, former Israeli intelligence asset by night, 007, and allegedly the Netanyahu's luxury drip dealer on retainer. This is not Pretty Women territory. This is Wolf of Wall Street meets The Crown with more champagne and fewer morals, if that were possible. Over a decade, Milchan allegedly funneled more than $250,000 in pink champagne, Cuban cigars, and jewelry into the Netanyahu household. Not as birthday surprises, but as items on what sounds suspicious like a standing Neiman Marcus wedding registry. And Israel's law on public officials accepting gifts? Crystal clear. You can't. At all. But apparently, in Bibi world, that statue is more vibe than rule. The alleged exchange rate? Milchan gets high-level political favors. Visa extensions, personal tax code lobbying, and oh yes, friendly intervention in regulatory matters. It's not bribery tucked in a back alley. It's corruption arranged like a Vogue editorial. Milchan isn't just a supporting character. He's Bibi's Gatsby. Except instead of throwing parties for love, he allegedly bankrolls an entire political dynasty for influence. And Bibi, he plays his part with award-winning amnesia, forgetting it ever existed like a goldfish in a Brioni suit.
What do we say when someone lies?
It's not the truth, Alan.
Then there's Shaul Eltovich, the soft-spoken telecom baron with a direct hotline to Bibi's self-image. Eltovich owns Walla News, one of Israel's largest outlets, which allegedly became a bespoke PR machine for Netanyahu in exchange for $200 million in regulatory sweeteners. The arrangement reads like a dystopian influencer brand deal, deliverable, glowing headlines, flattering photos, puff pieces timed to scandals, propaganda, compensation, green lights for your business empire, the middleman, Nir Hefetz, Netanyahu's personal media fixer, shuttling between Bibi's office and Walla's newsroom with edits, talking points, and preferred angles. And then the cover-up montage, phones allegedly wiped, messages deleted, digital evidence vanished, but plot twist. Walla's general manager, Ilan Yeshua, doesn't play along. He keeps everything. Texts, recordings, receipts, and hands them over to investigators.
I'm sitting on a bad boy piece of information. Do you understand? A bad boy piece of fucking information.
In one move, Yeshua turns from corporate yes man to state star witness, and suddenly Bibi's carefully staged PR narrative has a paper trail. Now, in theory land, this is Foucault with a Cartier lighter. Surveillance is power, yes, but here forgetting is the power move. Bibi's selective amnesia isn't weakness, it's performance. I can't recall becomes an act of sovereignty, a way to remain untouchable in the face of overwhelming evidence. It's Schmidt's state of exception, but for memory. The law doesn't apply to him because he's already declared himself the exception. Framing. This isn't politics, it's cinematic state capture. The oligarchs supply the champagne, the politicians supply the favors, the media supplies the illusion, and the Netanyahus, they curate it all, like influencers running a sponsored content campaign for the concept of power itself. When the prime minister is the headline writer, the first lady is the brand manager, and the billionaires are the brand sponsors, you don't have a democracy. You have a designer kleptocracy with a blowout and a Birkin. Before we go any further, I need you to hit the subscribe button. Think of it as your season pass to history's pettiest, most dangerous soap opera. Now, back to our autopsy. Part 4. Hostage of the narrative. The war that wasn't supposed to happen, but totally did. And now we reach the most nauseating twist in this whole champagne and cigars opera. October 7th, not just a date, a fracture in the nation's psyche. And if the Bibi Files is to be believed, it wasn't just an intelligence failure. It was the predictable climax of a long-running, deeply cynical political strategy. Because here's the charge. Bibi, self-proclaimed protector of Israel, didn't merely fail to neutralize Hamas. He nurtured them, fed them, funded them, gave them room to breathe, not out of naivety, but calculation. Every month, suitcases of Qatari cash were reportedly waved through. The aim? Keep Hamas strong enough to destabilize Palestinian politics, ensuring that the West Bank and Gaza remain divided. Why? Because a divided Palestine means no peace deal. And no peace deal means Bibi can keep selling himself as Israel's eternal wartime CEO.
Do you believe Netanyahu deliberately propped up Hamas in Gaza all these years, funneling cash from Qatar to Hamas, as a way of undermining and dividing the Palestinians and cynically preventing a two-state solution from emerging?
Yes, you are repeating what I've been saying for a long time, long before the October 7th. From day one, Netanyahu downgraded the Palestinian Authority and almost inevitably upgraded the Hamas.
This isn't just Machiavellian. This is Machiavelli with a media team and a missile budget. Manage chaos as statecraft. You create the conditions for perpetual threat, then crown yourself the only man who could beat it. You don't just hold power, you're making yourself indispensable. Machiavelli would be scribbling this dude fan mail. But chaos has a body count, and that count doesn't just tally Israelis killed in the attacks, it tallies the Palestinians being bombed into rubble, the journalists silenced, and aid convoys blocked. The Bibi Files shows the IDF dropping munitions disguised as food packages and aid. The starving line up, the boxes explode. War crimes as optics management.
My resolution? Airstrikes. Bomb them. Bomb them. Keep bombing them. Bomb them again and again.
And while the smoke is still rising, who do grieving hostage families find themselves having to appease for updates or assistance? Sarah. When families begged for action, they reportedly got gaslit. Some say they were warned that public criticism of Sarah or Netanyahu would mean slower information and fewer updates. The implication was clear. Praise the queen and king, or lose access to the king. That's not leadership. That's a court of trauma run by a PR strategy. And let's not forget, even as the country mourned, Bibi allegedly used diplomatic capital to secure a US visa for Arnon Milchan after it was revoked over illegal arms dealing ties. The same Milchan who'd allegedly been bankrolling the Netanyahu's lifestyle wore outside luxury maintenance on the inside. It's like the Titanic is sinking and the captain's priority is getting the champagne temperature just right. Hannah Arendt called this the banality of evil, the way atrocities are often perpetuated by small mundane acts of self-interest disguised as just doing a job, or the job. Except here, the job is to hold on to power at any cost, and the cost is counted in civilian lives. Schmidt's state of exception lives here too. The idea that the sovereign decides when normal rules don't apply. For Bibi, October 7th wasn't a crisis to resolve. It was the perfect justification to extend the exception forever. In the end, the Bibi Files paints a chilling portrait, not of a leader who failed his people, but one who saw national trauma as the ultimate campaign asset. Hostages became leverage, bombings became policy, and Sarah, she stayed right there in the center of the frame, the matriarch of a wartime monarch, sipping champagne while the country burns. Part 5, the Supreme Supreme Court smackdown. Judicial reform or soft coup? Yes, judicial reform. That genteel NPR-friendly phrase for ejecting the referee mid-game because you're losing. Once the indictments dropped, Bibi didn't just lawyer up. He went for the source code. The courts themselves, his so-called reforms were not about efficiency, ideology, or even governance. They were about making sure Benjamin Netanyahu never hears the words guilty in a court of law unless he's using them to describe his cigar supplier.
It's really cute that you're gonna defeat me with the power of friendship and all, but again, I am the devil from the Bible, so...
The plan? Rewrite how judges are chosen, strip the Supreme Court of its ability to strike down bad laws, intimidate the Attorney General, and sprinkle loyalists across the legal apparatus like parsley over a poisoned dish. It's not separation of powers, it's absorption of powers. Hobbes's Leviathan says the sovereign is supposed to unify the state. But what happens when Leviathan files for a tax exemption, appoints his own parole officer, and rewrites the rulebook in the middle of his trial?
Oh my God, call the police. Oh my God, he is the police.
You get a state exception worthy of Carl Schmitt with a protagonist who doesn't just declare the exception, he builds a permanent vacation home there. In this documentary, this reform arc plays like a heist movie, except instead of stealing money, Bibi is allegedly stealing the very concept of judicial independence. And the people noticed. Oh, they noticed. For nearly 40 weeks straight, Israel saw the largest protests in its history. The streets weren't full of abstract ideologues. They were full of citizens watching their democracy get deconstructed in real time, IKEA style with no instructions and a missing Allen key. Framing, this isn't just judicial reform, it's trial nullification by legislative sleight of hand. It's banana republic behavior. The courts weren't just an obstacle to Bibi's political goals. They were an existential threat to his freedom. And when that's the case, the line between national interest and personal survival get erased so fast, you could miss it in a single news cycle. Because when you strip away the speeches, the slogans, and the flag waving, you're left with one unmissable truth. Netanyahu's biggest war is not with Hamas, it's with the rule of law. Part 6. Family values, but make it succession planning, and total victory, total collapse. Enter Yair Netanyahu, the crown prince of chaos. Twitter's favorite heir to the world's pettiest throne. He rants, he subtweets entire demographics. He blames Marxists, immigrants, Facebook moderators, and possibly gravity for Israel's problems. And according to multiple reports, Daddy Bibi has floated the idea, allegedly, that Yair could replace him one day, which isn't democracy. It's succession with worse haircuts. In the halls of Congress, Bibi leans into the mic and declares, victory is within reach. But on the ground, the hostages aren't home. Gaza's in rubble. The far-right partners he led into the cabinet are running ministries like ideological fiefdoms. Bibi isn't steering the ship anymore. He's handcuffed to the wheel while it sinks in full view of the international press. And this, my friends, is Dacher Keltner's power paradox made flesh. The more Bibi holds power to escape the law, the less legitimacy he actually has. Until one day, there's nothing left holding the whole thing together but fear. And fear, it doesn't win elections forever. It just prolongs the crash. To cling on, Bibi forges a coalition with far-right, ultranationalist political arsonists, men whose resumes read like Homeland scripts. Itamar Ben-Gvir, Minister of National Security, whose track record includes racism, incitement, and the kind of rhetoric that makes diplomats drink before noon.
It's not that you shouldn't say racist things, you shouldn't think them. And if you think them, you are wrong.
Bezalel Smotrich, finance minister whose ideological goals allegedly include expansionism, apartheid-style policies, and taking a sledgehammer to what's left of judicial independence. This isn't coalition building. It's Frankenstein statecraft stitching together monsters for the sole purpose of guarding the castle gates. And if the kingdom burns in the process, well, ashes make for a great security perimeter. Or as Louis XIV might have said, l'État, c'est moi. The documentary closes with its most chilling reality check of all. Netanyahu's reign hasn't just destabilized Israel's politics. It's rewired them. It's normalized corruption, polarized the population into irreconcilable halves, locked the state in a perpetual feedback loop of conflict, fear, and self-interest. Bibi doesn't see himself as a man in trouble. He sees himself as destiny. But history and the bodies buried under the rubble might remember him as the architect of Israel's greatest unraveling.
I hope him and his generals and the far-right government in Israel that when their God finally bring him to the resting place, that he deserves to burn in hell. Because what is happening now, not alone is it apartheid, not alone is it atrocity and a war crime, it's just horrific. It's just horrific what they're doing. Where is their soul? Where is the soul of the Israeli people?
Conclusion. Champagne in the abyss. This isn't the profile of a politician. It's an autopsy of a regime that decided survival was more important than governance and war more important than peace, as long as it kept the indictments at bay.
So it doesn't matter what my crime is then?
Not really.
No, be real.
No, because I love you.
Oh my God, I don't think.
Dude, you would have to do something so fucking insane.
That's what I'm saying. What is it? What would be the thing?
Yeah, like if you Jeffrey Dahmer, like if you fucking like raped and ate people, then I'd be like, Bobby, come on.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Hungry.
All right.
The Bibi Files doesn't whisper, it screams. It's the cinematic equivalent of a no-confidence vote, with better lighting and worse morals. It's not just about Netanyahu, it's about what happens when a democracy turns dynastic, when the Constitution becomes a suggestion, and when justice is a luxury item reserved for people who can afford it. Israel's on fire, and Bibi, he's holding the match, smiling for the cameras and billing you for the lighter fluid. Benjamin and Sara Netanyahu aren't leaders, they're survivors, not of war, but of consequences. They have succeeded in turning luxury into leverage, grief into branding, abusing democracy as a delay tactic. In their Israel, corruption isn't the exception, it's the operating system. And here's why I'm talking about all this. Because it's important to know your ops. Because being on the right side of history isn't just a moral preference, it's a survival strategy, especially when the stakes involve genocide. And because, if I'm being honest, I think Israel under Netanyahu is a big bully. And as a Canadian, I also think the US is a big bully. And when two bullies sit together at lunch, they're not bonding over friendship bracelets. They're butt buddies because it serves their power.
I don't understand the relationship between America and Israel. It's like it's effed up situation ever. We're like the world's most pathetic sugar daddy. We give them billions of dollars and they shit on us. Like Mr. Jonathan said. Now, we gave you $30 billion to bomb children and it's not enough for you. Like, I mean, at least when you pay a dominatrix, you know that you're getting fucked. But this is just America having a public humiliation king while getting fucked, and they call this foreign policy. They are arresting American students on American soils for protesting Israeli war crimes. What the hell, man? This is like your crack whore making you beat your children for calling her what she is, a whore. And this is what really boggles me in America. The right and the left, they fight each other tooth and nail over gun control, education, minorities' rights, healthcare, DEI. But when it comes to Israel, everybody competes to be Israel's favorite bitch. Like, I came here today to witness for myself how someone can lie so shamelessly. The guy is like a human pinball machine. Every question lies on him, ends on Hamas. It's like a magic 8-ball with one answer, Hamas. Yani, at least flat earthers, they make things interesting.
Because war crimes aren't complicated geopolitics. They're atrocities with press kits. You can't spin that. There's no narrative. Because when journalists are killed, civilians are bombed, and starving families are towards aid that's actually just bombs, you've crossed the moral event horizon and checked into hell's VIP lounge. Netanyahu's entire political career has been a masterclass in black and white thinking. In his worldview, terrorists are evil, and we are the good guys isn't just rhetoric. It's the operating system. And it's dangerous because it allows no nuance, no complexity, and no compromise. He casts himself as hero of the Jewish people and protector of the state of Israel. Beside him, Sara Netanyahu plays the co-ruler, except she's an alleged tyrant in heels. Her yelling is legendary for its brutality and finality. Staffers, aides, even hostage families all reportedly experience Sarah's reign of fear. Netanyahu's refusal to resign while on trial for fraud isn't defiance. It's a test balloon for monarchy. He's openly mused about his son succeeding him as if hereditary power were the next natural step. His judicial reforms weren't about governance, they were about avoiding jail. Israelis protested him for 39 consecutive weeks because they saw what was happening. His personal legal trouble was becoming the nation's constitutional crisis. As I said in the beginning, Carl Schmitt wrote, "Sovereign is he who decides the exception." Netanyahu doesn't just decide the exception, he manufactures it. Permanent crisis isn't a failure of his politics, it is the politics.
Look, Gaza is starving is a sentence that's objectively true, but it's also slightly misleading because it's too passive. Gaza is being starved by Israel. And what's so frustrating is that most humanitarian disasters don't come with solutions as straightforward as this one. Hurricanes don't tend to have kill switches that you can flip. You can't stop a pandemic by simply hanging a "do not infect" sign on your door. But this famine truly does have an off button, as it's entirely man-made, and we need to fucking press it. As one expert on famines has said, if Netanyahu decided tonight that every Palestinian child in Gaza should have breakfast tomorrow, it could undoubtedly be done. So it's long past time for the US to stop being complicit in this, because unless we actively stop him, Netanyahu seems more than willing to continue choking off aid to the point that what's getting through is sometimes quite literally a drop in the fucking ocean.
October 7th wasn't an interruption. It was the perfect pretext to bulldoze judicial oversight, delay trials, and consolidate power.
People love to provoke you, and then when you pop off, you the problem. You love drama. You want to fight all the time. No, just leave me the hell alone, and we won't have this problem.
Hannah Arendt warned us that evil often looks ordinary. Netanyahu rebrands it. Starving a population becomes pressure. Bombing civilians becomes necessity. Killing journalists becomes security. Sarah's job? Package the cruelty so it's photogenic. She's the shadow sovereign in stilettos, screaming at staff, allegedly curating headlines, and inserting herself into hostage negotiations like the world's worst Real Housewife of Jerusalem. Sara Netanyahu doesn't just exist in her husband's political orbit. She is the gravitational pull. And the scandals, from a hot tape sex scandal that permanently fractured their marriage to micromanaging political optics, Sarah's fingerprints are everywhere. She's less first lady and more co-defendant in waiting. Think Coraline's other mother, but swap the sewing needles for subpoenas. Netanyahu's alleged funnel of over $1 billion to Hamas through Qatar wasn't strategy. It was hubris with a bank account. Keep Gaza under Hamas, keep the West Bank under Fatah, and peace talks stay dead forever. Until inevitably, the fire he fed burned the house down. Netanyahu's black and white worldview collapses any distinction between moral certainty and moral infallibility. The result is a leader who believes not only that he is right, but that he must be right, at any cost. Only military pressure. Our goal is total victory, he says. Translation: anything short of absolute submission is unacceptable. When Sarah demands that hostage families personally thank her husband, despite his alleged role in creating the very conditions for their suffering, it's not just tone deaf. It's the purest expression of the Netanyahu ethos. We are the good guys, and anything against that effect is fucking wrong. If you're always the hero, then everyone else is always the villain. That's authoritarian oxygen. And once you breathe it in, anything becomes possible. Siege, slaughter, censorship. Because the Bibi Files isn't just about one corrupt leader. It's a field manual for how democracies rot from within. The courts bent, the press captured, the enemy list expanded until it includes civilians, children, and the truth itself. Netanyahu sees himself as Israel's destiny. History may remember him as its undoing. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't document it, we become part of the silence that makes the next atrocity possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. Free Palestine. Take care of yourselves wherever you are, wherever you're watching. Be kind to yourself. Gilly loves you all, and he wishes you all a lovely evening. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, please leave us a nice comment and let us know if if there's something that you guys would like me to watch next, or something you want me to talk about next. I'm taking ideas. See you in the next one, sweet baby angels.